So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was mid pistachio nut. I became awful cultured since I came home from Birmingham. How's everyone doing? We're alive. We're alive. I lost my own bet that we wouldn't come back alive, but we did. Great weekend was had in Birmingham at the Villa Norwich game, and we're going to break down the Villa Norwich game at some stage. But you know, it was so good, and I'm going to go a bit of a monologue. But what's new? It was so good to get back over to Villa Park. You know, everything was great about it. I definitely saw a better game than 99% of the people in the stadium. That's for sure, because no one was going to dampen my day that I had. You know, it was absolutely great. There were so many great people that we met when we were over there. From all the Lions chairman were fantastic. There was a lot of people who came up, and just like it's mad. You do a little podcast in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, and then you're walking down the road and someone roads across to you and goes, "Hey, Neil," and you're going, "I don't know who you are, but thank you so much." You know, little things like that. And yeah. I was sat in the middle of the stand, and there was 87 Swedish guys around. Anders, the Swedish Lions chairman, brought over 87 people over to the game, and they were great crack. But there was also two guys in front of me from Qatar. Paul and Bodie were over from Qatar, and Bodie's little good luck charm because he's never seen Villa lose a game. So I wanted to give him a shout out because he was over the moon with a 2-0 win against Norwich, as was I. But yeah, fantastic weekend. The parts that I can remember, and the parts that I can't remember, I heard were fantastic too. So yeah, I'm sure, and that's why I shut up and I'm going, Paddy, don't fill in the parts I can't remember.
I probably can't remember them either.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
I do remember that you forgot to feed yourself and left.
Oh yeah, but I could twice, Paddy. Twice. I did it twice. Yeah. First night we were there, ordered a pizza inside. Actually, I must give a shout out to the guys in the Aston Social. Karen behind the bar in the Aston Social had to put up with some amount of shite from us. She listened to us for a long time when nobody else would have on a Friday night, that's for sure. But yeah, ordered a pizza, completely forgot all about it, left it above the bar, and then went away to bed. So
can bring you nowhere, Neil. Can bring you nowhere.
Bring me nowhere. Yeah. It just goes to show I had something. I had one thing on my mind anyway, and it wasn't food. But no, we were there for the game, obviously, and we travelled over with a great crew here from Ireland. And for me, I first of all, we got smashing weather. I got sunburned. The tip of my nose is sunburnt after Saturday. But the weather was fantastic, and it was nice. It really was nice to be back in Villa Park again. There was a nice buzz around the ground. I know a lot of people were saying, you know, this on Twitter and on social media that the ground was quiet, and it probably was quiet, but there was still a good buzz around, and people were happy, and people were excited, and people were, you know, there wasn't a negativity wasn't a negative air, if that makes sense, Paddy, in the ground.
No, there wasn't. I think people were genuinely just happy enough with the win and move on to the next one. You know, we stopped the rot last week by getting a point at Leicester, and then went out this week and got a win. I'm not as upbeat about the performance as you are. I felt it was a little bit flat and could have been better, but you know, we did okay. We got 2 goals. Danny Ings come on, was on fire. We got what we asked for with the team sheet tantrum as well. I got my beloved Callan Chambers on the pitch, and we got Tim Irigbounam on the pitch. So, yeah, that was a good start to the day. Because we missed the team sheet tantrum because we were both in a meeting of Lions Club chairs in the whole pub. I see Midnight Marcus asking us, were we upstairs in the whole? We were upstairs in the whole pub. Yeah, but we were downstairs in the whole pub for a long time before and after the game.
Absolutely. Mark Mountfield, good to have met you. Blacked his way into the whole pub. He said, met 2 Villa legends in Neil and Paddy. I don't know who they were. They certainly weren't legends when you met us at that stage, I don't think. So, but still, thank you so much, and it was great to meet you. It was great to meet you for sure. But yeah, it's like there were some, yeah, they looked after us really well actually in the hold. Which is great. Zoe in the hold looked after us really well as well. See, I can remember. I couldn't even that bad. I can remember loads of people's names from the day, so that wasn't bad.
I can remember all the faces anyway. But names is another story.
Between the two of us,
never one of my strong points remembering names.
Yeah. I call you up to the dock with me when I get summoned for whatever happened. I call you up to the dock and I go, well, he remembers the faces, I remember the names, but the two of us can't remember anything independent other than that. But it was like, as I say, no, when I talk about being upbeat about the game, look, I'll be honest with you, it's very, very difficult when you have that serotonin running through the body from, wanting to be over there for the last 7 years has been big. It literally would have taken a 5-0 hammering for me to come out of there and go, I didn't enjoy myself, It was nice. It was great, like going back over even to see, like, I didn't know that you had a stone outside. You had one of the cobbles outside the ground and stuff like that. Hadn't seen the William McGregor statue in a while. Little things like that, It's just you walk around the corner and you go, oh Jesus, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that. There was no such thing as a fan zone last time I was there. So it was a real novelty, and hopefully a novelty that'll come around a lot quicker than the last one did for sure. But the game itself, you mentioned there that we had the team. We did our we were actually inside the meeting when the team news broke, and when we came out, we couldn't help but go on Twitter and chat about it. But yeah, I think, look, I am now convinced that Steven Gerrard is experimenting between now and the end of the season to see what he has. I think that was an experimental team that he put out. I think it was the right team in a lot of ways. I think that Bailey, like, if Bailey's shot that Tim Krul saved onto the bar goes in, I think we're talking about a completely different person. But then again, he does get injured. It looks like it's a nasty enough ankle injury as well. He's had 3 different injuries.
Yeah.
And have kept him out for a long time. He's had the hamstring, he's had the thigh, and now the ankle. And it's concerning. It's concerning. But of all the players in the field who needed something to go his way, that Tim Krul save, which was a really good save onto the crossbar, that could have been a season changer for him.
Of course it could. Yeah. Look, I look back on a bit of it since. I was a little bit annoyed with him on Saturday. I didn't think he was putting it about as much as I would have liked. I was looking forward to seeing him, in the flesh and seeing would he put more of an effort in that I felt he did against Leicester. So it was disappointing to see him go off so early, but I think there's a lot more positives than negatives for sure.
He wasn't the player that I was most disappointed in during the game. I was incredibly disappointed in Philippe Coutinho. I suppose I just had him built up so much, and everybody I know, to a man who was a Liverpool supporter that would go over to Anfield and would have seen him in his pomp at Liverpool, said, "Oh my God, wait, you see his movement." He spent a lot of time out on the left hand side. So when we started off, we had a brilliant structure. And I know it was easy for us to dictate the structure because we're playing from home. We're playing against the worst team in the Premier League this year. So we had very much a 4-2-3-1 was what we played before Bailey went off. And it was evident. You guys can look back at my look back on Twitter and you'll see a photo I took. And it was like you drew it up on a tactics board. It was perfect lines across the field. And that was really, really good to see. And when he was out on the left, I thought he was okay. But when he went in more central, I'm not sure he really even got on the ball at all. And it kind of made it, he was like as if he was there. And Danny Ings was coming deeper than him at times to pick up the ball. And Ings played really well when he came on, played brilliant, actually, I thought, when he came on. But I just thought that, it was the game for him to explode. Like, half the reason why I booked the Norwich game was because I thought that, this is one where Coutinho is going to put on a show, and it just, maybe it's my fault for expecting too much of him.
I've been disappointed with him for a few weeks, and it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's the question on everybody's lips now. Is this, whatever about the 33 million price tag, is that the kind of wages we want to be playing for a player who is very hot and cold. I was actually, when I saw the setup where it looked like it was Bailey off the right, him off the left, and they were quite wide. I was positive about it and I was looking forward to it, but it just didn't happen. It just really, really didn't happen. So it was unfortunate for him, but I do think this deal is done. I do think Gerrard has seen enough that he will probably go ahead with it. But it's the question on everyone's lips now. Do we go and spend this kind of money on the player?
Yeah, you're not going to hear me give out about spending money on Philippe Coutinho, even though we've seen some really good games from him. We've seen some games where he hasn't been really good. But then again, he's had 4 years of not a lot of consistent football. Arguably, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, this could be the longest stretch of games he's played in the last 3 years.
I would say so. I would. Although he got a good few games against Bayern Munich. So, I know it was, there's a bit of a gap in between him coming to us. So, he probably needs a preseason. He probably needs, which a lot of these players who had a very poor preseason by no fault of their own between COVID and injury last year, they could probably do it too. So I think if we did sign him, we'd probably see a completely different player come the middle of August when we go to start again. But look, he looks like he's enjoying being here. Everybody that talks about him or got close to him will tell you that he's happy. So it's out of our hands, obviously, and it's up to the management team and the likes of Johan Lang and Christian Porslow whether this money is going to be spent or not.
Paddy, here's one for you. 2 weeks ago, everybody was talking about pass success ratios, percentages. I got involved in it. I posted it. Someone asked me for the pass success percentages, and I posted each one of them individually. Now, like, I suppose when you take a kind of a 360-degree view on something like that, our pass success hasn't been great. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me. I could look them up, but arguably, Douglas Luiz has probably the best pass success rate, probably of anybody on our team. And somebody mentioned that. I think it was actually mentioned on the radio on BBC West Midlands. I was listening to it. I think somebody mentioned that, one of the presenters. And I meant to actually check it up and I didn't. And that's why I'm just kind of mentioning it now. But if Douglas Luiz is our best pass success rate, because he is the one who's trusted to be that pivot at the bottom to pass that ball, Jacob Ramsey is the man who carries the ball, and McGinn is just all action. So if you've only really got one viable option to pass you the ball from deeper, and that's Douglas Luiz, maybe you're not going to get on the ball as much as we want you to. So maybe that's a contributory thing as well, that we're not playing as many of those triangle passes in around middle midfield like we did when Gerrard first came in. Certainly not doing as much of it as we were in the Leeds game and the Southampton game. We barely played them this game. We went wide and off flat this game. Look at Digne. Like, I know Easter was 2 weeks ago. Digne had his own Easter on Saturday. He just resurrected out of nowhere. We were told he was going to be gone for 6 or 8 weeks. Now all of a sudden, the tomb was open. Out came Luca Digne. But he got on a lot of the ball on the left-hand side. Matty Cash was sneaking in around the back post again. He had a chance with a header. So we were going wide an awful lot as well. So I suppose when we look at it, what I was expecting, and maybe the way that Gerrard wanted us to play, were two completely different things. But then again, it's Philippe Coutinho. You kind of expect him to get on the ball and to want the ball and to drive with the ball and to do something with the ball. But And look, I thought McGinn was very good. I thought McGinn was brilliant. Kieran makes a good point. I thought McGinn was actually my man in the match.
Yeah, and I'm keen to get off the Coutinho conversation, because I reckon we're going to be talking about it ad nauseum between now and the end of the season. But yeah, big show for John McGinn. I thought it was probably his best game since Christmas, anyway. I'd say, and probably through no fault of his own, with been how he's been deployed week on week. So we'll just have to wait and see how he's fitting into the system going forward in the new season. When we'll see a few new arrivals.
Paddy, is that the hoodie you got at the weekend?
It is.
It's a lovely fit. It really fits you,
isn't it? Yeah. And do you know what makes it an even better fit? It's actually a player fit.
How did you lose weight in the weekend?
I, I, I reckon I did the same thing as you and forgot to eat.
Yeah. The reason I say it is that the boys there was yes, AFC agent Gerrard, thank you so much. Up the Villa, all written off Bailey and Chuck, all written Bailey and Chuck off. I think it's fair enough to kind of criticize Bailey. I think we've done it ourselves here. I still think he's going to be back next year. I also think that Kenny Chukwuemeka is going to be back as well next year, but we'll see. And that's the one I wanted to pop up. And that's why I brought up the hoodies, because I was out the shop.
Before you say anything, I want to apologise to Luke because I made a little joke or tried to pull his pants down while he was videoing the podcast. But funnily enough, Neil, he didn't want me on his fan cams. All he wanted was you, and you were nowhere to be seen. And I told him we'd come back up and see him afterwards. But he was gone by the time we got back up from the shop, unfortunately.
I was waiting outside the shop for you, and I don't know what I did. Went into my contacts and I goes, Paddy, great. Clicked on Paddy. Next thing I was on the phone, and I realized it wasn't you. It was my uncle Paddy. And I was there to, where are you? I'm outside the shop. And there was me roaring at him. Where are you? Where are you? So we had our own little moment of embarrassment outside the shop. Yeah,
fair play to you, Kieran. It probably is an Alan Brazil fish. Alan Brazil at his age he is now. Yeah. It's good you can only see it from here up because it's a little bit snug from there down.
Yeah. The one thing that's just after popping into my mind again, a lot of people are saying it here. Buendia impressed when he came on, and I thought he did too. The great thing I thought what Buendia does really, really well, and you see it in games, and sometimes it looks like he's a tryhard in games. But when you watch it live and you see how many people moved with him, and now I know he's playing against Norwich and they were probably wary of him because they know him inside out. But you see this, he makes this big sprint forward, stops, and almost looks around to see where the players are. And sometimes when he does that, I'm kind of looking at him and going, why did you do that? Like, if you have to stop and look around to see where the players are waiting for the ball to come to you, why did you do that? He knows well he's not getting the ball, and that's why he was doing it. And you could see him do it 2 or 3 times in this game, and then he arcs his run back around and almost takes the place of one of the fullbacks that comes in. And it was evident enough a couple of times now in the game that he was looking to do that, and he was pulling the what's his name, Norman out a small bit as well. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, but look good.
He actually does. He actually does that when he's on the ball as well. If you notice, he slows the ball down nearly to a walking pace, drags in 2 players, and then gives the ball off. And by that stage, there's loads of space. He can be a really joy to watch. I've been banging the drum since that day against Man City that we were beaten. I thought from then on, like, there's no way he deserves to be sitting on the bench. It's just, there's a talent there. We should be nurturing and building the team around him as well.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I think, look, where's Noel? I saw Noel commenting there about you winning the karaoke beforehand, and then on to sound. Yeah, I've absolutely bang on. Sound Uber drivers took us all around Birmingham at the weekend as well. But myself and Noah were messing outside the ground afterwards, shouting, "We are staying up!" Yeah, we are staying up. we were messing outside, pretending, but we actually are. Like, obviously, now we're staying up, and I know it leaves the relegation fears because people were genuinely talking about it. Hey, it nearly made the national. Well, I suppose it did make the national sports news here in Ireland that Villa potentially could be going down. It was on News Talk. There was a big discussion about Villa potentially going down. Now, we never thought we were going to go down, but at the same time, you still want to hit the 40-point mark, make sure that you're not going to go down. And we've got our games in hand. I still think, I said before the Leicester game, I said before the end of the season, we'd accumulate somewhere between 7 and 10 points. I'm now pretty confident that it'll be towards the 10-point mark more so than towards the 7-point mark, because I very much think that we could beat Burnley twice, no problem. And I'm not as, they're on a great run, don't get me wrong. And like, they're really after putting it up Leeds and then Everton winning out of nowhere on Sunday. It's going to be a really interesting battle at the bottom. But I think we can get points throughout the course of the rest of this year. But I also think that we're going to see some experimental lineups. And I think we'll probably might even see one starting this weekend because, I think we could see 2 defensive midfielders in there at the weekend and see what happens. But Yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to the season, I think, for us, because we're going to see a lot of players. There are games that we're not going to like the look of. I think there's at least going to be 1 or 2 games where we're going to put on a show. I thought this was going to be one of them, so maybe don't take my word for it. But it's an interesting one. Paddy, we haven't even talked about the goals. Haven't even talked about the goals. The first goal, what a ball. What a ball from out of nowhere to find Ollie Watkins. And then he takes it down well, but I'm not quite sure what Brandon Williams is doing there to slip that badly. You know, he didn't need to make that sudden movement. And then
Well, it just goes to show we gave out about McGinn slipping and Consa slipping a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. At every level of this Premier League, if you're slipping, chances are you're going to concede a goal, especially that deep into it. Hit it well. It looked like it may have taken a little clip off the other defender to probably help it on its way. But who was it that paid the pass? Was it Coutinho? Makes sense from where it came from. It was Coutinho, but so much has happened since Saturday. I feel like it's about 6 weeks ago since I watched the match.
Was it Ings? No, Ings was not.
No, Ings wasn't on the pitch.
Ings was not at that stage. But when Ings did come on, first thing he did was play an absolute beauty of a pass. That's why I was thinking. Literally, ball just dropped him and bang, absolute penguin. It was a beauty one. But it was like, I suppose it was nice to get that goal. It was Ings that passed the ball. See, Paddy?
For the first goal. Oh, did Ings come on in the first goal? Did he?
Ings came on like in 40th minute. We were actually there. Oh yeah, Danny Ings. Yeah, it was. It was his first. It was literally Watkins scored in the 41st minute. It was the first touch. Danny Ings' first touch. He literally came on and pinged an absolute splendid one. That was it. I knew that was the one. But it did take a touch and it went in. But I think it was still going in the back of the net anyway. The shot.
Probably, yeah, probably.
And then Ings got fortuitous with his goal at the end. But it was nice to see the two of them score. You know, Krul nearly.
I think he deserved a bit of luck after the amount of work he did and the amount of shots he got in his 55 minutes on the pitch. Again, another fellow I've been banging a drum about. I want to see him starting every week. I'm glad that everybody is seeing what he's capable of this week. Even down to that header that came off the post. He was very unlucky not to score before he actually did. And then when he did score, it was kind of fortuitous in itself, even with the keeper getting his hand to it in the end. But look,
it came from a screwball scramble as well. So I can't imagine that the Krul had his feet set or anything in that instance. He was just like going, I hope someone doesn't really take a shot here, because the ball was very, very close to him. It was 6-yard box and it was bouncing around everywhere. A couple of block shots beforehand, and so fair play to
him. Shout out to Tim. I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching his work rate around the pitch, his positional sense when we didn't have the ball. I think that guy is going to be a baller. I don't know whether the plan is to keep him around the team next season or to put him out and get him game time. Whether he's ready for week in, week out Premier League, I don't know. But we've been sounding that drum for a while to get him in there to see what he can do. So I hope they do give him a bit of run between here and the end of the season. And Nakamba's having a bit of a rest. They're going to ease him back in after that injury. So it's probably best not to aggravate that if we've got another able body to put in there and do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Paddy, remember this? Do you remember that pass as well? I remember. I made a note. I made a note of that the free kick to Dina. I made a note of it. It was a beaut.
Yeah, and everybody it was one of those moments everyone just stood up and applauded. I'm in the lower hold, so you're standing anyway, but everybody around me just went whoa. And it's moments like that make it. It was a quiet atmosphere. The atmosphere has been quiet enough all season, I think. I don't know what the cause of that is, whether people just aren't excited enough with the football. But hopefully we'll get back to the days, that like the magic of we had on that 10-match run in the Championship and getting promoted and the first couple of matches back in the Premier League. I just love to see the crowd getting behind the team again.
Yeah, and as I say, it's Look, I can understand why there was a small bit of flatness because there was times this year where we looked like we were going to kick on and we never did. But hopefully the end of the season will finish on a high note for us, and it'll allow some of our players to show us what they can actually do. Maybe when the pressure's off a small bit. And as I say, I earmarked those 2 games against Burnley. I earmarked the Crystal Palace game, and don't rule us out to spoil the party or to even give Liverpool the win. I've called this from before Christmas that Man City are going to need to come to Villa Park or that they're going to need to play Villa, should I say, and get a win out of it. And we're going to hold them to something stupid like a 0-0 draw, and when no one expects it. But yeah, that would be a win in itself, I think, for me. But all in all, Paddy, a fruitful game, a fruitful weekend, should I say. There's a couple of people asking how many. Yes, you love to see the love for Dino before we get on and we finish up the podcast. What a man. I have lots of respect for him. And, he showed it at the end that the club still means an awful lot to him. Fair play to him.
Yeah. And look, it's, he's given us some, like, I don't want to be like a broken record, but he's given us so many memories. It was lovely at the end to see all his players come and give him a hug and commiserate with him that he'd gone down, but it was a smile. It wasn't a sadness on his face. I've said it before, he's brought into Norwich to take them back up. They'd already given up the fight by the time he came in there. He's got a tough job ahead of him, probably a little bit of rebuilding. I'd imagine some of those players will probably move on. So it's going to be easy, or it's not going to be easy, but I'd love to see him do well again next year. And he was probably the only unhappy Villa fan in Villa Park on Saturday. But, the two of us have nothing but love for him. And it was great. It was great to see him back and great to see him get the reception that he did. Shout out to Project B6. They had a bit of a mishap with their welcome. It was only supposed to be, that they raised it for a few seconds. Unfortunately, it was the wrong way around. These things happen. These guys aren't paid. Don't be going all in on them on social media. But the message got out there. We all know that everybody was welcoming Dean back. So absolutely fair play to you lads. It was a lovely tribute. And you can see the picture of it all over social media as it was meant to be.
Yeah. They put it. They had one afterwards where they unfurled it outside the Holt End. I think it was after the game as well. Yeah. But fair play to them. They do a lot. They do a lot of great banners. They contribute an awful lot to the atmosphere. They try their best to get things going inside in the ground as well. So yeah, for me, they'll always get support from that point of view.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much. That's really, really kind of you. Thank you so much. And I think the last thing we want at this moment in time is points. But when we're back over in Villa Park, we'll have them, because there's a couple of questions asking, how much did you drink over the weekend? And I'm afraid to try and figure that out. I'm afraid to go back through my bank account to try and figure out what was spent and what was tapped on card. But we'll leave that one. That was better left forgotten, I think. But thank you so much, Paul. I really, really appreciate that. I mean, that's really, really kind of you. Yeah. Couple of comments there. There's one or two things there about Gerrard. I'm actually going to bring it up before we leave, Paddy, because it's doesn't really contribute to the game. And to be honest with you, I didn't even hear the post-match presser, so I don't know what was said or what wasn't said in it. But a couple of people have been asking about Gerrard seems to be really throwing the players under the bus recently. I didn't hear the post-match press conference. Was he disappointed with the players in the post-match?
Well, I think he over the last few weeks he's kind of been a little bit. I thought a little bit too open about what's going on with players. So I would prefer him to keep that to himself and do the work behind closed doors when the season ends. If he wants to clear the decks. He's the manager. We'll get behind him regardless. But if he clears the decks, he needs to stand up for what he believes in and deliver results. That we're not looking at getting to 40 points on the 30th of April. We want to be on 40 points in probably mid-February or early March. So that has to be the aim for next year. But if you're going to call out players, you better make sure he's going to clear some of them out in the summer, because otherwise people are going to be asking serious questions.
I think so too. As AJ says here, he was happy with the result, but said we should have been more ruthless. I think so too. But then at the end of the day, we had something like 21 shots and 9 of them were blocked. I genuinely think as a team, we have more shots blocked than any other team in the Premier League.
It feels that way, yeah.
It does. It feels that way. Yeah, it feels that way. And guys, that's a fair point. Top managers improve players, not just buy new ones.
Yeah, but just remember, he's only new to this trade as well, and we don't know that he's a top manager yet. We know that he has a very well-respected team around him, but we don't know if he's a top manager yet. He got to tune out that Rangers team. He made his own. They weren't the best team in the world, but they got the job done the way he wanted them to play, and he won't have any excuses come November or December of this year when we start to ask what did he do in the summer and what changes were made and how it's affected the team going forward.
And I think if we see a lot of more young players maybe break further into the squad over the course of the next 12 months, I think he'd be able to stand up there and say that he has improved players. Like you could arguably say he's improved Jacob Ramsey more than like the Dean Smith brought him to one level, but he's actually playing better under Steven Gerrard. Look, we could sit there and split hairs, but guys, you're right. There is going to come a time whereby words will become meaningless when it comes to blaming people and maybe blaming refs. And he got stick in Scotland for blaming refs an awful lot. And people are saying, you can't always blame the refs. You're Rangers. You should be beating Ross County, or you should be beating Falkirk, or like Livingston shouldn't come and get a one, whatever. And that's true too. That is true too. In fairness, that is true too. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it there, guys. I think we're going to leave it there because, as I say, it was a good game. It was a good game for us to be at. A win's a win. We're going to come back with a preview show on Wednesday. I think, Paddy, if you're around on Wednesday or Thursday, we do these on air pre-production meetings. So we come back Wednesday, maybe later in the day, maybe about 9:30 or something like that. You'll see it. We'll pop it out on social media. I won't have also left the heater on in my room on one of the hottest days in Ireland. I am melting as well here. Melting hot. So I definitely will rectify that situation for the next time. That's one of the reasons why I'm finishing up the podcast in 32 minutes. That very rarely happens because I think I might drop of heat exhaustion inside.
Tell the truth, Neil. You're in the middle of a 2-day hangover here, and this is the last thing you needed today. And we're on early tonight because we both need an early night after the weekend.
I'm going to go in and watch the snooker and have the baby monitor alongside me and try and get a few hours sleep. Yeah. Early, but
that'll be enough to help you go sleep anyway. Watching the snooker, just to shout out again for the people that came up and the outpouring of love that we got over the weekend was incredible. Obviously, you're more recognizable than me, so when I go on my own, very few people recognize me. But your dulcet tones, as a couple of people heard you speaking and realized it was you, and your beard obviously stands out. But
Paddy, I'm loud. That's what it was. I'm a loud person.
We met good people and we had good fun. We good crack with Mark Regan in the whole pub after the game.
Yeah.
Who I also recognised because of his dulcet tones. And Porrick from Galway.
And Jane. Yes,
and Jane,
Porrick and Jane.
Yeah, who expressed their displeasure that they drive from Dublin to Galway regularly and she has to listen to us two idiots talking on that journey.
Yeah, that was the exact words. She actually, I think, when we went up to Porrick, she pointed at me and she went, "Is that the fellow from that podcast I have to listen to?" So yeah, there we go. And Ronan was over. Where's Ronan? I see you chatting away inside there. Ronan was over with us as well. Didn't get to spend half enough time with you, Ronan, but that was probably our fault for being international men of mystery, traipsing around the place, and probably because we were stuck inside in pubs the whole time anyway, while you were doing more cultural things in the course of the day. But it was great to see you. It was great to see you. But yeah, listen, once again, thanks to everybody. Great to see all the Swedish guys. The Swedish guys were fantastic. The two gentlemen that sat in front of me. Oh, there was one other guy, actually. I meant to say at the start. I didn't get your name, but I wanted to say really, at halftime, you came up, you sat down, you had a chat with me. You had a grey beard, you had a hat on. I think your hat might have been on backwards. Thanks a million. Really appreciate the chat as well. It was great to see you too. Also, Joseph Hessian. It was his 18th. Was it his 18th or his 21st that he invited us?
His 18th, yeah.
The Friday night, but yeah, we never quite made it there. If I wasn't remembering to pick up a pizza off the bar, I certainly wasn't remembering where Joseph Hession's 18th was.
But Jesus, you had other things in your mind on Friday night that you even forgot to sing in the karaoke competition, Neil.
Yeah, oh yeah, well that was by design. That was because you were too good. That was because you were too good. I sang last year when Tyrone Mings scored from a corner. So now, you're going to have to sing at the end of this year. We're going to have to come up with some forfeit for you to do a repeat of Don't Look Back in Anger.
I'll have to go back for the final. What do you reckon? We'll all go back for the final. We'll bring all the people in the comments and we'll get all the votes. And I don't know what the prize is, but we'll get back.
Yeah.
any excuse to go back and have the crack.
5th of May or something. No, isn't that's this Friday. Yeah, 5th of May, this Friday. 200 shiny notes for the person who wins it. Paddy, it's well worth your while going back. Flights are only about 16 quid. So I maintain if you go back, you'll win it. We'll bring a crowd. Anyway, this is enough ramblings from us. We barely spoke about the game. We spent more times with in-jokes from the weekend, and we do apologize for that. But thanks, everybody, so much for listening. Then, once again, thanks to everybody for making it a great weekend too. Really appreciate everything everybody does for the podcast. And we will be back on Wednesday with another preview show. And then we will chat to you then. So have a fantastic rest of your Monday evening. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.